All right, welcome to this step of getting your schedule set up. You are doing a phenomenal job of absolutely demolishing and crushing these trainings one by one by one. It's now time finally to go ahead and create an actual booking calendar, a scheduler inside of ClientKit. So what we're going to go ahead and do is inside of this specific training section, we're going to walk you through how to actually create a scheduler in general. Okay, so that way you have an idea of, hey, if you were going to create a scheduler in general, what it is going to look like. And then in a later training section, okay, so right now you're in the training and then you're in an earlier training section. In a later training section towards the end of this entire training, we're going to be walking you through how to create specific schedulers, right? So specific schedulers, like you're going to create a consultation calendar, an onboarding calendar, an in-person calendar, a coaching call calendar. All of these are very specific and have specific settings for each of the different use cases. But for this training section, I'm going to be walking you through exactly what that looks like in general. So make sure you are following along. This is not something that you just go ahead and like watch and then that's it. No. This is a tactical training that you need to make sure that you're pausing, doing the action, pausing, doing the action. You are doing it as you are going through this entire training section. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into actually creating a booking calendar. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go over to ClientKit. We're then going to go over to calendar settings. You can do that by either going to calendars and then calendar settings, or going to settings and then going to calendars from there. From there, we are going to go ahead and be on the calendars tab right here, which is the first tab on the calendar setting. Now, you're going to see I have a bunch of test random calendars here. You can go ahead and ignore this. You probably are not going to have them. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete them right now real quick. Boom, just like that. You see, this is probably what yours is going to look like. Maybe not. You might have a test calendar in there, maybe not, right? It just depends on when that actual snapshot, when your account is created. Sometimes we go ahead and, depending on what you're watching this training, sometimes we're going to go ahead and import stuff into your account. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to go ahead and create a new calendar. Now, remember, and we've talked about this in the past, there's a difference between a central calendar and a booking calendar. And I know it gets a little bit confusing, and unfortunately they don't use the word scheduler, because really what we're doing is we're creating a scheduler, which is going to be a booking calendar. So we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and click on new calendar. And then over here, you're going to see scheduling type. Now, don't get overwhelmed by this. Don't get confused by this. This is the reason why we're walking you through a system and a strategy, because the recommendation that we're going to have for you is to go ahead and create a round robin calendar. Now, all of these other ones, sometimes they become more advanced. Sometimes there's specific use cases for them. When we actually talk about the advanced calendar options training section later on, we will be walking you through some of the other use cases for this on how you can use these for your business. But for the purposes of most, I would say 80% plus of your calendars are typically going to be round robin calendars. So we're going to go ahead and select round robin. And then from there, it's going to go ahead and give us some options that we need to select over here. So in this case, because this is going to be just a general calendar for right now, because remember, we're walking you through this. And again, this is what you're following on your side as well. In the guide, you'll see we have some potential recommendations for this first calendar. You can call it a one-on-one consultation, game plan session, strategy session, whatever you want to call it. So in this case, I'm going to call this NutriFit Wellness, and I'm going to probably put in the beginning of it, let's put one-on-one consult. Okay, one-on-one consult is what I'm going to go ahead and put it, and I'm going to call this NutriFit Wellness. And you can add a description if you want. You cannot add a description if you want, no problem. Select team members. You're going to select yourself from this drop down, so whatever your username is going to show up there. Then you're going to go ahead and set a custom URL. Again, this doesn't really make that big of a difference. You can kind of just make it based off of the name over here. So let's just go ahead and put, in this case, I'm going to put one-on-one NutriFit. So that's going to be there. Now the meeting duration here, again, we're just walking you through the example settings, so that way you know where all of the actual settings are. So for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and set this at 45 minutes. And then the booking availability, sure, we're going to make it Monday through, let's say, Saturday. And then right over here, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., no problem. Accept payments, I'm going to leave that off for now. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on advanced settings, or you can also go ahead and click on confirm. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to go ahead and click on advanced settings. And then it's going to show up here, and you'll see I have meeting details, availability, forms and payments, notifications and additional options, and customization. So let's go through each of these one by one. Calendar logo, if you wanted to go ahead and upload a calendar logo, that's going to be there. That's that calendar name that we had earlier. Group, you can go ahead and ignore group. We don't usually use group right now. In the future, we'll talk to you about some of the advanced use cases for group if necessary. Meeting invite title, this is going to be actually very helpful, because what we want to do is that this is how it's going to show up in Google Calendar once it actually books here. So what I like to do is I like to go ahead and put contact name, and then I usually put the name of the calendar over here, so that way it's clear. So that way it'll say, like, you know, Tina Smith, that'll be the contact's name, whoever booked, and it'll be like one-on-one NutraFit consult, right? Or one-on-one consult if you don't want to, because this is going to be kind of your own name, or this is going to also show up for the prospects. So you can go ahead and put NutraFit consult if you want. Optimize availability, no issues there. Event color, we can go ahead and leave that blue. From there, we're going to go over to availability. This is where we're going to control the availability for this scheduler. But remember, when you actually book from this, it is going to first check to see, is there any overlapping in your central calendar, right? And so what's happening here is that you can go ahead and really pretty much leave this also open if you really wanted to, because then it's going to give the person time to be able to book on any one of these slots, except it's not going to allow them to book on the slots that are booked off there, right? So again, this is going to be specific to different calendars, how you're going to do it, but we just want to walk you through where it is. This is if you're going to have a recurring meeting. Let's say this is going to be, somebody's going to meet with you regularly every single week, every single day, whatever it might be. You can go ahead and select that over there. Then meeting interval over here. So meeting duration, meeting interval is basically when you actually show up on the calendar. And what I'm going to do here, and this is probably a good idea for me to walk you through here, is I'm going to go ahead and hold Command, and then I'm going to go ahead and open in another tab here. And what I want to do is, you'll see I'm going to have my calendar here. I'm going to show you, this is a little bit more advanced. We're going to get to this in a little bit. You don't have to do this, but I just want to show you what I mean by this, because when it actually loads, meeting interval means that, do you want to show the 30-minute blocks underneath here, right? So it says right now it shows, if somebody selected on February 21st, they wanted to go ahead and meet with me, they can select 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m., 10 a.m., right? Let's say, for example, I didn't want that to be the case. I only wanted it to show up on the top of the hour. I can change the meeting interval there. I hit save, and then I go back over here to this kind of link here. Again, you don't have to know where this is. I just went through that very quickly. We'll walk you through that in an upcoming training, but I just want to show you what the end result would look like here, right? So right here, you'll see now they don't have the option to book with me at 9:30 a.m. It's only at the top of the hour, right? And then obviously you can go ahead and change that if you wanted to make it 15 minutes, you could do that as well. But again, we're just showing you where the settings are. And then once we get into the specific calendars, we'll show you exactly how to set those specific ones up, okay? Minimum scheduling notice. This one right over here is going to be, hey, how far minimum do they need to actually book out for? This is going to be the minimum amount of time that they can book as soon as, right? So right now you'll see, for example, right now there's no minimum scheduling notice on here. So therefore they can book on the very exact same day. So in my opinion, I prefer at least a 1 day's notice, right? So if I put 1 day on there, you'll see if I hit save, and then I go ahead and refresh this, it's now not going to allow them to book on that 20th, right? It doesn't even allow them to book on the 21st because of the fact that it's assuming that it's going to be, the next day as well, because 1 day includes the next day after that, right? So what I'm going to do is, typically I do like to go ahead and do something like 12 hours is my preference. So if I go ahead and hit save there, and then it will allow them to book on the 21st. If I go ahead and refresh this page, boom, you'll see that it does allow them to now book on the 21st, right? So that is going to be that setting there. Date range, this is going to be how far out they can actually book, because right now you'll see that they can pretty much book months and months out, right? Somebody can book with you, forever, like all the way into 10 years from now. So what you can do is you can go ahead and set this to say, the maximum somebody can book out is going to be, let's say, 7 days out, right? So if I go ahead and hit save now, and then you'll see if I go ahead and refresh over here, it is now only going to allow them to book out 7 days out. Now, if I go to next month, you'll see that it says there's no slots available, because that is the maximum amount that they're allowed to be able to book out for, which is going to be 7 days, okay? Maximum bookings per day, that's going to be if you want to have a maximum number of bookings per day, maximum bookings per slot per user. Again, they have these little information icons here. You can go ahead and read up on those. Buffer time in between appointments. You just want to know where all of these are. So that way, once we actually get into the specific calendars, we're going to walk you through some of these more specific steps then. From there, you got forms and payments. So this is going to be if you're going to be accepting payments, and then you want to go ahead and have this actually be a form as well. So you can actually go ahead and set that up here. And then of course, if you wanted to have like a custom form here, this is a little bit more advanced. I'm just going to plant the seed here, but you could always go into sites, forms, builder, create a custom form, and then link that custom form into a calendar as well. Again, don't blow your brain yet. This is just planting seeds. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do to get fancy, but we're not going to go ahead and worry about this too much right now. I just want to go ahead and show you where that is. Notifications and additional options. So this is going to be whenever they book an appointment, what is the type of notification that they're going to get, right? And then who should receive this notification as well. And then typically we do want to go ahead and keep this on, which is allow Google Calendar to send invitation or update emails to attendees. This is going to be extremely helpful because it does also then further confirm their appointment by sending them a Google Calendar invitation as well. From here, you can go ahead and control the allow reschedule meeting and allow cancellation meeting. After that, you'll see that we do have additional notes. Now, these additional notes are extremely helpful because what's going to happen, and these right here, these are called custom values, right? You see these brackets, and it's not going to look like that once the actual meeting is created. What it's going to do is it's actually going to show the populated data. So it's going to show the name of the contact information, the email, etc. once you actually do the test on here, right? And then all this information is actually then going to show up in the description of your actual Google Calendar event as well, which is really cool. Okay, so for right now, we're going to leave it how it is, but I just want you to know where it is. So that way, if you ever want to change it, if you ever want to edit it, you can do that there. Next up, we go over to customizations. If you wanted to change maybe the color of it, maybe the calendar title, all of that stuff, there's some additional customizations here as well. Specifically, what's important to know here is that this is actually controlling what the widget settings are going to look like. And this is going to be the widget, and I'll show you how to get to the widget later on. You might have seen it how I did it earlier. But the point being is that let's say, for example, you didn't want to show the calendar title or something like that, right? So the calendar title, if you didn't want to show that, you can just go ahead and check that off there, hit save. And then if I go ahead and refresh over here, you'll see that it now actually hides the calendar title, right? Which I don't know why you would want to do, but let's say, for example, you did want to do that, right? So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on again. And then I'm going to go ahead and you can always preview the widget here as well to see what that would look like based off of the settings that you are putting on there. Of course, they also allow you to go ahead and change the colors over here. If you wanted to go ahead and change them, let's say you wanted like a red color, and then you go ahead and hit preview widget, it will show you the actual red color that is on here as well. So a lot of cool kind of customization that you can play around with. But the point being that I wanted to walk you through, this is very important, is if I hit save, congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, if you followed through this entire training section, you now have your first booking calendar, you have your first scheduler now created, which is really, really awesome. And then down the road, what we're going to do in an upcoming training section, we're going to walk you through exactly how to book appointments on this scheduler. You did see how I did it earlier. There is a share button on here, and then you're going to have a schedule link and a permanent link. We'll walk you through all of this, one-time link, embed codes, all of this fancy schmancy stuff. We're going to walk you through it later on inside of the guide for this specific training section as well. We actually have a written version of all of the different kind of walkthrough that I went ahead and walked you through inside of this training video, but we're not done yet. And remember, like I said, the actual specific booking calendar, specifically like consultation, onboarding, in-person calendar, there's going to be some more specific settings that we are going to walk you through as a part of the strategy. Because remember, ClientKit is just a tool. You need the strategy that goes along with the tool, so that way you understand in your industry what is the best use practices, the pro tips that are going to allow you to get the most benefit out of the tool. So we're going to walk you through exactly how to set those specific calendars up in an upcoming training section. However, you want to make sure that you do not skip to that right now, because every single training right now that we're walking you through, you want to pause, follow along, go through the settings. Don't just watch this video, because I'm telling you, it's going to go in your head, go through one ear and out the other. You want to make sure that you're following along and having created your general calendar, because we're actually going to be piggybacking off of this later on. Okay, so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're not completely done yet. However, we are making progress. You're doing an amazing job here. Keep the momentum going. We're done with this step in terms of creating a booking calendar. Now we're going to go ahead and proceed with the rest of the scheduler setup. We will catch you in the next training section.